Okay, so next to me here we have a BMW E34 5 Series. Now I'm particularly excited to review this car because it is not often we see an E34 5 Series in such a beautiful shape and it's very bog standard configuration. Now this particular example here is a 525i with the M50 single Vanos engine. Now, throughout its lifetime, the E34 has had a variety of different engines. There was the M20 six-cylinder engine. In Europe, they even have a 1.8 liter four-cylinder engine. There's the M30 six-cylinder engines. There were V8 models. So this here, the M50 engine is perhaps one of the most popular versions of the E34. So let's check this car out. So now the front end of the E34 has four individual round lights, and typically there are two different grille configurations. What we see here, this is what we call the small nose configuration. There is another version, later models or the V8 versions come with what they call the big nose grille, in which the kidney grille actually goes all the way to the edge of the headlight. And here's the thing, it's not just a different grille. Typically the grille sizes come with matching bonnets. So for example, you see this small grille here, this line on the bonnet matches to the grille, whereas if you have the one with the big kidney grille, this line actually goes over to match the edge of the kidney grille. Now the interesting thing is this, you see, the E34 is the third generation of the 5 Series, and preceding models, the E12, the E28, had the 4i look. The E39 that followed was the very first in which all the headlight units were merged into one unit. And quite interestingly enough, Mercedes-Benz, after this, came up with the E-Class with 4 individual headlights. So it is an interesting question as to who inspired who in terms of the design. Now by today's standards, the E34 is perhaps deemed conservative, but back when it was first launched, this car was a radical departure from the previous two 5 Series that came by. Remember that the E12 and E28 both had the sharp nose look, and they both followed pretty much evolutionary progression of each other. So if you were to compare the E34 with the E12 and the E28, this is where BMW really ripped the whole playbook and started afresh. Now, one particular design cue of the E34 that really catches my eye every time when I look at it is this, the particularly acute Hofmeister kink. Now, after the E34, with the E39 and the E60, they all had pretty gentle Hofmeister kinks. It was only with the F10 and the G30 that followed it that BMW reverted back to the very aggressive, very acute Hofmeister kink design, and that is a cue that's inspired by the E34. So now today we regard the E39 as somewhat another major radical departure from the E34. But if you look back, there were some styling cues that from here BMW carried over to the E39. This shoulder line, for example, that starts from the front fender, that breaks here at the wheel arch, that's there in the E39, and see the way it continues backwards along the waist, just matching with the door opener. This styling cue is also present over there, carried over from the E34 to the E39. Now these days it is very rare for an E34 to still have its original taillights like this. Most of them I've seen on the road have replaced with the aftermarket design. Not to my taste. I like my cars looking original, and therefore really when I saw this E34 in this shape driving into the shop, I told the customer, look sir, I have to video your car. This is in absolutely stunning condition. Now, this is a 525i, so you can identify that with the twin tailpipe tips at the lower left corner of the bumper. The entry spec 520i would have a single tailpipe configuration. Now, the boot lid of the E34 opens like this, and even back then, BMW had already opened up the boot lid all the way down to the bumper. Back then, it was not a common thing. A lot of cars, the boot lid would have opened just above the taillight because there's the additional engineering work that you need to route wiring to the boot lid. But BMW took care of that here in the E34. So boot space wise, not very big, but you have the rubber straps here to hold things down when you're driving. And of course, there's a little compartment here for you to drop small stuff. Now, let's go to the front. Now, there's a unique way to open the bonnet of the E34. Pull it forward. So it's front opening like the first generation 5 Series, the E12. And what you see here, this is the M50 single one-nose engine, which replaced, where the 525i and the 520i is concerned, the older M20 engine. Now, a little aside, for those of you not from Malaysia, in our market, the M20 engine was popularly known as the engine ketam or crab engine. Why? Because the intake plenums of that engine resembles that of a crab. Now, the M20 engine is a single overhead camshaft unit with 2 valves per cylinder, generally regarded as very reliable but not very powerful. The 2-liter engine made barely 110 horsepower. The 2.5 made 169 horsepower. This guy here, the M50 2.5-liter engine, went up 20 horses to 189 horsepower. So, interestingly, in BMW's history, see, the M50 engine was a quantum leap over the M20 engine. And it is a very aggressively tuned engine. But what is interesting is that the M50, later in the mid-90s, was replaced by the M52. That engine, comparatively, was a lot less aggressively tuned. In fact, with the M52 family, the 2.8-liter displacement engines had the same outputs as the 2.5 here. It is only in the M54 engine family that powered the E39 facelift that BMW had the 2.5-liter engine back to 190 horsepower. Now, this particular example of the M50 here is a single one-nose unit. How do you identify as a single one-nose? Here, there's this little bulge here at the front of the engine cover that is the house of the van-nose mechanism. Now, the thing with the E34 is that the M20 and M50 engine versions, they are vastly different, technically different, okay? So much so that one major difference, wiring is completely different. M20 engine E34s had their batteries mounted in their engine bay, whereas in this M50 engine version, the battery is mounted in the boot. So you can see there is the battery jumper point right here. There's the OBD port right there as well. Now, let's check out the interior. So to close this bonnet, put it down, set it down gently and push it in. Okay, so let's get inside. Now, what I like about this example, this is all fabric interior. Check out the door card. All right, so there's grab handle here, power window switches, and for its time, got an ashtray. Okay, so you push this to pop the ashtray out. Look at the nice fabric insert here. Now, a unique design of the E34 is that the seat belt is mounted in the middle and you pull it down this way, all right? You can see inside here is a center armrest, quite big center armrest. Over here, you've got rear air con vents and a little slot here. I'm not sure what you can drop inside, but check this out. You've got rear seat pockets. Okay, don't be fooled, okay? This Roof liner has sagged a bit. One of the only few flaws in this car. I'm about 170 centimeters tall, got 3 fingers of headroom above me, and we've got 2 individually adjustable headrests. So you've got individual cabin lighting here, all right? And yeah, but basically nothing much, although I would say leg space is fantastic for a car of this era. Now, let's get to the front. So let's go into the front. Now, once again, a very conservative cabin design. This is perhaps the most uncle staring in the E34 lineup. Now, check out the door card. This is another feature of the E34 that survived the transition to the E39, the door-mounted aircon vent, side mirror adjustment here, okay, a little short door card. So manual seats. The only other blemish of this particular example's cabin is the torn fabric here, but otherwise this cabin is almost immaculately preserved. And check this out. Digital clusters. Look at this. All right. So this example has 90,000 kilometers and it's most probably original mileage. Why? Because you see next to KM here, there's this dot. This dot is not illuminated. So in BMWs, if you see a random dot illuminating in near your mileage, it shows that the instrument cluster the mileage has been tampered, and yeah, you better ask the dealer serious questions about it. So the headlight switch of the E34 is here. Just push it all the way up to switch on the headlights. Down. Fog lights, okay, signal stop here, wiper here, and look at this. It is very, very rare now to find an E34 where the dashboard has no cracks. No cracks. It's a bit dirty lah, but no cracks. Okay, the center aircon vent, and of course this is the, oh my god, look at this. Old school Blopang single DIN head unit, and nice beautiful center analog clock, dual zone temperature control. So here there's this ashtray. The mechanism is a bit stiff lah. Okay. Now this part here of the E34 also, this is one thing that of the E34 that often does not survive scrutiny. Okay, so this one is sort of like coming off, as you can see, but otherwise it's all right. Okay, so is the gear selector and power window switches here mounted in the middle. So a relatively simple center console, but this space here, all right, although this car was designed in the 80s, but this space here means that for a modern driver, you can still use this to put your phones, all right? And here there's this space here that is nicely enough for me to drop my M-Guard unit here, nicely sized, handbrake here. Oh my god, this is faster than my car off the line. The engine takes off with great enthusiasm, all right, and it revs smoothly. Okay, this is really when, you know, BMW inline 6 engines, they were really regarded as the creme de la creme. And I'm going over a rather bad patch of road, and the suspension, my god, it just glides over the surface imperfections. Now, I'm pretty used to this stretch of road here in Sungai Besi, and I tell you, it is, well, it is harsh, but the E34 is gliding over it as if it is suspended on air. Oh my god. And whoa. Oh my god, there is that beautiful rawness to the way this car drives. Oh, lovely. And the performance on offer Okay, now the owner of this car was asking me, do I think it is fit for daily driving? And where this particular example is concerned, I will say that this car behaves pretty much like what I would expect a fully healthy E34 to behave. Oh my God, the ride is, there's only one word to use for it. It's sublime. The ride is sublime. Right? Now, some of you may have sat in some badly maintained E34s in recent times. Those cars probably drive like shit. I tell you, you sit in this, my God, it's magical. It is magical. The way, the smoothness, the creamy smoothness of the engine, the beautiful waftiness of the ride. Oh my God. And if you think the handling is a joke, let me tell you, it isn't. I took a few corners with this. Now this is where the E39 feels sharper, but I can tell you the E34 will string along a few fast corners, no problem. No problem. Oh my God. It really feels like, and oh wow, you see, unlike the M54 engine that I'm more familiar with, the M50 here, you know, as it climbs up the revs, all right, as the Wanos ticked over, there seems to be that second wind of power that's pushing the car forward. And holy shit, this car has some serious poke way. See, the BMW autos of this era don't have a good reputation, but I can tell you this 525i has some serious grunt. I'm pretty sure on the highway I can surprise a few Myvis. But granted, the condition of this car is really testament to its owner. Oh my God. It really, this car really feels, right? Now as I drive this, it really feels like I traveled back in time to the late 80s, to the early 90s, and experienced what a thoroughbred performance saloon from that era feels like. There's just that slab of torque on standby. You know, it's as if at 2000 RPM, this engine is just ever ready to go. Wow. Fantastic car, man. This is a fantastic car. See, everything in this car just reeks of perfection. Now the steering is it's a bit lighter than what I'm accustomed to in my E39. Now the E34 was the last 5 series to have recirculating ball steering. The E39 was the first to transition to rack and pinion. So unsurprisingly, the E39 steers sharper, more precise around bends. But you see, the thing with the E34 is that BMW engineered the chassis well enough that even with lesser precision, it still has flow, all right? It's a chassis that dances with you. You know, it ebbs and flows. It does not have sheer outright grip, but it's more than happy enough to dance with you around any corner you dare to throw it into. I can imagine back in the day, the executives who bought this car, they would have covered some serious ground at serious pace with them. Oh, We've got some clear roads to enjoy the 6-cylinder engine, my God. Oh, damn. Now I'm starting to itch for an E34 in my life. You know, many years ago, I almost bought an E34 for less than 10,000 ringgit. But I sent that car for a pre-purchase inspection, and there were a few things in there that, well, let's just say that after the 10,000 ringgit, I may needed to spend another 10,000 ringgit to fix that car up. So I didn't proceed with that purchase. But the thing is that, yeah, there was a period of time where I was toying with the idea of getting an E34. But, then after that, I fixed my sights to get an E39, and now there's a part of me that wished I had explored the E34 as well. See, right now, there are two categories of E34s in the market today, all right? You can spend less than 10,000 ringgit and you would pretty much be getting yourselves into a rust bucket that, if you are lucky, moves on its own power. An example that looks like this, and especially one that is a 525i, they are going to ask for easily 15 to 18 grand, which I think, if you were to ask me, 18 grand for an E34 in this condition, I'd sign up straight away. I'd put my money down straight away, because I foresee E34s will undergo appreciation. It's already appreciating, right? It won't, because the thing is that good condition E34s like this, very, very hard to come by. And yeah, I believe the E34s will undergo an appreciation, because like how you see E28s right now are calling for silly money. I'm seeing cars listed for 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, and I think the E34 will follow that path, especially if you're looking at an unmolested model and something with a bigger engine than a 520i. Those will slowly start to call for good money, all right? And yeah, so the trick with the E34 really is, the challenge is finding one that has been well kept. And yeah, the owner of this car, I would say, is very lucky to have this example here in such a pristine condition. What I can see is that it maybe needs a wash, a polish, full interior clean. And this car, not only will it be reliable, right, this car would be still a pretty good daily driver, although I don't think I want to subject it to traffic jams too often, because old cars, yeah, you don't want to be driving them in congested roads too frequently. But yeah, this car here still have plenty of life in it. And if you own an E34 in a condition like this, treasure it. If you find one available for a good price, snap it up. Lovely car. Lovely, lovely.